6 hours. Like right before it. Yeah, no sleep.
And we are live.
Yeah, we are. What's going on, guys? It's Nathan. If my webcam's lagging, at least it is on my end. I don't know. Sorry. That just equates to what my brain is doing right now. But with that being said, welcome to Hyperspace Live, episode number, I believe, 48. Almost at the big 50. Will we do something special? I'm sure we'll forget. Joining us always, we have Carson.
I thought you said Webkins for a second, and I was slightly concerned about your brain. I'm like, your Webkins is lagging, and I started to look at your background. I'm like, is that like the pet thing where you start obscure thing? Okay. Anyways, yeah, good to be back. I'm liking this new Thursday Hyperspace hype. It's gonna bite us. I know it's gonna bite us when the news cycle starts up again. But for now, we're chilling, and it's fine, and we can talk about Star Wars, and then, we probably won't have something big drop tomorrow because we just had that big investor thing a little bit ago. So, yeah, little news stories this week. Of course, we're going to be talking some more, light spoilers / no spoilers, High Republic, Light of the Jedi stuff, because we're not all done with the book yet, but I'm excited to talk about the villains of this series because it's a big part, and very interesting.
Also joining us, we have Evan.
Yeah, super exciting. We got some super surprising Cassian Andor news to discuss. And then, some High Republic fun topics ahead. Markion Row, specifically, will be fun to talk about. But yeah, I think we're gonna be good on Star Wars on Thursdays. I'm pretty confident. Like, don't clip this video of me saying this a month from now.
Rian Johnson's trilogy gets announced tomorrow
on Friday. I know. But I think
we have to do a special episode.
Most of the big Star Wars stuff came out like Thursdays and Fridays, so I was like, we have a 50-50 shot here. Let's go. What could possibly go wrong?
Gonna have to convert my cup of hyperspace for that.
Wow.
Yeah. Should we start with K-2? All right. I'm so. All right. I guess that's like the biggest thing on my brain that I'm thinking about. So, okay, that was interesting. It's funny because immediately I was like thinking back to when we were at Celebration at the tail end of the Alan Tudyk panel that we just decided to randomly waltz in on. And they were like, oh, yeah, you want a Cassian look? Oh, cool. Wait, what? Oh, my God. And then it's just messing around with action figures. It was a Robert Rodriguez animatic. And
they trolled us so hard with that. Yeah. But this is surprising. K-2SO not going to be in Cassian Andor. In Andor, right? I think it's just called Andor. Yeah. In Andor, but then Alan Tudyk was having this interview with Collider, and he said at first, like he specifically said, like, I can't reveal too much, but at the same time, he was revealing a lot. He was like, I can't reveal too much, but K-2SO is not going to be in Andor at first, but maybe down the line. So then it's like, is this a season 1 situation?
That's what I was confused about because, of course, we got that announcement in the sizzle reel that it's 12 episodes, right?
Yeah.
So part of me thought that was going to be the extent of the series. Now, and maybe he's playing coy and he's in episodes 8 through 12 or something, or 7 through 12 when the plot eventually gets to that point. But there's no way he's not in it. Like, I just cannot. Like, they were on stage together during the announcement of that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, unless the rewrites decided to go a different route with, like, the espionage stuff instead of accelerating all the way to when they met. But I don't see how you can't do both. It doesn't seem like that big of a canon issue to have them meet earlier, because it seems like you can do whatever you want with their meeting.
Yeah, it's always been kind of weird to see what they were going to do with their meeting, because there was that one comic book,
right,
where they did meet. So, and then, like, people, though, like, never really liked that comic book, so they were fine with them changing up the story at a different time or whatever. But like you said, Carson, there was a lot of rewrites. Tony Gilroy did some rewrites. They changed showrunners. So there was a lot of movement going on between last time we talked about it, which was like Celebration. Oh, and even the D23. didn't they say like they're going to be together in D23 in 2019 or something like that?
Sounds right.
I forget.
I
But
think
yeah.
I think we're missing the big obvious is that Alan Tudyk is referring that he will be making his return debut in the Star Wars Droids series that was announced at the
Oh.
Investor Day.
I was like, oh, did I miss something?
No.
Yeah, the Droid series. We still
But,
haven't
you
heard
know-
much about.
But I do like the aspect of like multiple seasons for Cassian just because of like what you can explore in the time of the rebellion and like the birth of it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be disappointed because I think one of the big hooks for the show was seeing Cassian and K-2SO again.
It was for me at first, but then when you start like hearing like the different casting rumors that they had and just seeing the concept art and stuff, I think they have like enough that will keep me engaged that I don't only need, because I think most people are like, oh, like fun buddy cop type humor between K2 and Cassian, but like, no, I want the espionage.
No, we're like spy espionage. Give me whatever. Give me gritty rebellion doing dirty things in the whatever, the Outer Rim or wherever it's gonna be at first.
Give me
Probably
the rumor Leia twin casting for Kenobi.
Oh yeah. But out of all the spin-off shows, I think we all probably thought that this one would be the most likely to have potential for a second season. Obviously Kenobi's a one-shot, 4 to 6 episode through.
This is how we're gonna get to the Rebel sequel. It's like we're gonna redo the Rebel timeline merger, and then we're gonna go forward.
Don't give me hope. Anyway,
rebellions are built on hope. All right.
So we'll get.
Jeez.
So I think I can see this. I can see Cassian, maybe going 2 to 3 seasons, possibly, if that's what they decide to do. I would assume maybe 2 is what they probably have planned out right now, especially if it's 2. I would assume probably 2 12-episode arcs, or not arcs, but I think season 2 would probably be more if there is 2 seasons, and then it turns out that Alan Tudyk isn't in season 1, and then I'm assuming they would confirm season 2 before it ends airing. So then people would be like, oh, he's going to show up next season. Or there'll probably be hints in the show or something. But yeah, it's interesting because I guess maybe we all just thought that you got to have K2 with Cassian. But maybe I think it's interesting that we're going to develop the character without him, because then adds a lot before we actually know their dynamic. Because that is what a lot of Rogue One is. We get shades of Cassian and definitely some good moments, but we don't have his full characterization yet.
I completely agree with both of you guys. Some people were replying to my tweet yesterday saying like they were disappointed that K-2SO and Cassian weren't going to have like their awesome dynamic, their buddy comedy kind of dynamic there. But I really like it. Like you guys said, there's a tons of different people added to this cast. There's that woman who might be his sister, possibly joining his sister, or maybe a lover at first. I'm not sure.
One or the other, not
one or the other.
Specifically.
Yeah, I don't want to say this ain't no Game of Thrones stuff going on. But yeah, and hopefully she doesn't die like the end of season 1, which I don't have my hopes up for that.
Normalized characters going to a different side of the galaxy.
And not just dying for the sake of emotional trauma. Every fiction story ever.
Can I get a happy ending, my guy?
Happy ending in Star Wars, Nathan. You're in the wrong business, my friend. But
there it is. Brought this on myself.
But yeah, I'm super excited. I want to see Cassian have these different dynamics, these different relationships in this like gritty Star Wars world. I hate using the term gritty because like people always say Mandalorian's so gritty, and it's not really.
Gritty R-rated.
I know, right? Yeah, gritty R-rated Star Wars. Come on, please. No, I don't.
Vader hallway scene for 2 hours.
I think it's important too that like we differentiate that like when we say gritty, it's just like we want to see the rebellion make challenging decisions, similar to like High Republic. Like we've never seen the Jedi in this form. It's like we've never seen the rebellion in this form. Or lack of form. Like maybe it's the splinter cells of the rebellion. I mean, we've seen a little bit of arguing in Rogue One, but like, hey, like I don't want to join this cause. You're like stupid, and like your goals are stupid. Like,
but like the little moments, like especially with Cassian, just seeing like you see how like quickly he shot that informant. Like,
Right. That's the premise for the whole show for me. Is like that rebellion of like that split second he made that decision because that's how invested he is in this thing.
I'm sure he
which is
doesn't
fascinating.
like it, but he's probably like so numb at this point, and what
Yeah.
brings him to that point. It's like the same instance that we would love to explore in like the Solo sequel. Like we see such like a bright-eyed Han in Solo versus like his closed-off self in A New Hope. We'd like to see that
Great
journey.
point.
Yeah, it's a great point. That guy has to be in the series, right? The guy he kills in the beginning of Rogue One. Right?
I don't know. I feel like he may be just an informant. I don't know.
I figured like he knew Cassian beforehand, like, hey, Cassian or something.
Well, that makes it even more messed up.
Yeah, I mean, I only saw Rogue One twice. I don't know like their initial like buddy like dynamic there before he shoots him. It seemed like he knew him. But
I mean, I think just in contact, it was just like, yeah, okay, so you got info? Tell me now.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Could be that too. But yeah, I'm super excited to see like what different dynamics we're gonna have. I always go back to like there's a possibility of like having those Senate discussions in Rogue One because the Senate is still a thing at this point. It hadn't been disbanded, so there's 12 episodes.
It's gotta be
one episode being like a whole Senate discussion, like in the Clone Wars. I love those episodes where it's about Padme and Coruscant just having.
I want Bail Organa arguing for peace. I would love that.
Imagine them like sneaking in like a witness or something into the Senate meeting and like trying to plead their cause of like, hey, this is a threat. Like, hey, like, you know, because that's pretty much what it goes with this is like, you know, until it was too late. Like, and of course, there's people within that Senate that are probably going to be obviously against him. And I think it's a perfect point to do the show. And especially you could contrast like maybe they're on a mission inside the Senate thing trying to get intel, and Bail is distracting, doing on the floor like arguing something. I want that like cutting back and forth between. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. That's gonna be cool.
Oh, I would love a back and forth cut between like Bail talking like peaceful negotiations, and there's just like a big battle going on, like interexplosives.
Cassian just shoots somebody. It's like we are peaceful. It's like the Han. You'll be flying in no time, kid. And he just is on Vimbit or whatever.
Perfect.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, this show, 12 episodes, probably going to be like what, 30 to 40 minutes, maybe 40 to 50, hopefully.
Yeah.
Like this is going to be one of the longer Star Wars shows. Like 12 episodes. We haven't seen that much from a Disney Plus series like ever yet. Like Mandalorian's 8, WandaVision's 9.
If they're like almost an hour, that's almost like 5 to 6 movie lengths.
Right.
That's crazy.
And they're going all out. Like the sets, like even.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
It's not even like they weren't even like advertising the volume and like that behind the scenes. It was like full sets they were building.
Yeah, it's like the movie sets, like which is it's an interesting approach because it's like you have Favreau, this very technological savvy guy who's like, all right, we're gonna push the boundaries of this kind of production. And then you have like this kind of era. You have like this era of like rebellion stories that kind of like beg the question of like, oh, we gotta have like the Rogue One-esque sets or the grounded places, and we're gonna shoot on Pinewood, and it's gonna be interesting to see the difference. Obviously, the volume is kind of indistinguishable in Star Wars now. But that being said, I watched like Robert Rodriguez's episode. It did feel weird to be on location. I'll say it. Like it felt weird. It felt different. Like because we're so used to. Being in an environment, and it's like, we're on location now, and I didn't notice it until we went on location.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is crazy. Like these modern days in Star Wars, we're thinking, and especially after Kathleen Kennedy said they're using 3 volumes now potentially going forward. It's going to be very weird seeing these on-set locations, but I'm happy for it too. The BTS reel D23, they're like, we're shooting this like it's an actual Star Wars movie. And the Star Wars movies that we got from the past 5 years now, all mostly on like location. Even Rise of Skywalker filmed in the desert in Abu Dhabi, I forget where. So yeah, very, very exciting. That big set that they had leaked like in the UK was very cool too. Like it was super big. People thought it was Kenobi, but I'm pretty sure it's Cassian Andor that's filming in the UK.
Is Kenobi even? I think Kenobi just started filming. Maybe.
Exactly. I don't think
Yeah.
Kenobi has started yet. I think they film in March, so I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I think they said or Kathy said beginning of the top of 2021 or whatever that means. So probably any time within the next 2 months. So who
Yeah.
knows?
Hopefully, we do see some Cassie and set photos of like different outfits and stuff. And there's different characters doing stuff. Like Marvel movies always have like all these set leaks and stuff. You don't see much from Star Wars. So
That's one thing. They're just like sniping drones. Like,
yeah,
I
we did see a lot from Mando. Mando season 1.
Yeah,
had
that's
of
right. I remember like that little bunker they had making Star Wars had set up or whatever.
What's up, Trey?
Hey Trey, long time no see.
long time.
Yeah, casting Andor is like at the top of my list. And like you said, Nathan, this is definitely the show which I think has potential for multiple seasons. Probably 2 at the most that I can think of right now. I can't even imagine the kind of arcs that they got. But this is set like 6 years before Rogue One. So
I give it 3 max.
3 max sounds good. Yeah,
Which is a good amount for sure. Yeah.
Because I think at most they have 6 seasons, but I don't think they're going to do that much. I mean, this isn't the Mandalorian. What are we talking about? Yeah.
I mean, even at a point, I didn't really see Mando going above like 5 at this point.
I still don't. I don't know.
They love this show, guys. Look,
they do. Emmy nominated.
You said there's no show without Grogu, so
I know, right?
You think that will stop them? There's about
hey
17
guys,
other.
season 3, we can finally learn about Din. It's only took him 3 seasons, but
I mean, I guess that could bring us to the next topic. You said Pedro's quote.
Oh yeah, Pedro was having an interview. I forget with who. I think it was IndieWire. Yeah, because I have the quote right here on me. Yeah, he was talking to IndieWire about his involvement in the Mandalorian spin-offs. And he was saying that he can't discuss anything that's going on, but there are many unexpected surprises and many unexpected timelines that are going to be dealt with if the character, referring to himself, Din Djarin, were to cross over into these worlds. It will be utilized in a way that isn't meant to be expected. I do not want to spoil the surprise of whether or not characters from The Mandalorian we already know would be crossing over into other shows.
So yes, they will.
Yeah, basically, right?
Oh, Pedro.
Trying to play coy, but not playing coy. Love it. Which does is Cara Dune can be Rangers of the New Republic?
Maybe not now. I don't know.
You never know.
Was that a real thing I saw on where apparently a Lucasfilm employee requested an artist to replace Cara Dune with Rosario Dawson?
It's legit. It was a legit artist. I looked through his Twitter thing. I'm like, is this guy like a biased Gina Carano hater or whatever? Like us. He wasn't. He was just a normal employee, and he was just saying facts like, I had a Gina Carano drawing, but Lucasfilm, with the popularity of Ahsoka, erased her out and put Ahsoka in there.
I'm fine with it.
Me too. I mean, looking at the art piece, it was it was from Ahsoka's episode mostly. So it had Ahsoka, the Magistrate, Din, Baby Yoda. So I'm like, it kind of makes more sense. And it did have Carl Weathers there too, but that's Carl Weathers. So,
Exactly.
It's a legend, exactly. That was pretty funny. So I still New Republic. That's the show that was rumored. Speaking of new timelines, to be set right after Return of the Jedi, which isn't the case for Mandalorian, which is 3 years after Return of the Jedi. I forget. 5 years, something like that.
Ballpark around there.
Ballpark, yeah. So if Rangers can take place a couple years before Mando, maybe lead up to that. I'm not sure. It's very interesting in terms of different timelines.
Yeah, and I think about bloodline stuff too. I think about that, how that book kind of. I would love if this explored how the First Order never died. I mean how the Empire never died technically. Something like that, and then we get, the actual first, the point of view of the thing we've been teased in the 2 seasons of The Mandalorian of like, oh, nobody believes our threat, but it could be the rumblings of that and the start of that, which I think would be very interesting and could play into the actual like somewhat of the Empire threats that Mando faces. You could see like maybe some of the hierarchy building out. I don't want to see like Gideon in this show per se, but like maybe, I don't know.
Hard to burst your bubble. I definitely think it's gonna be in this show. I think they threw him in jail. Cara Dune has him like in the New Republic prisons or whatever.
You're right.
I think he's gonna be that Hannibal Lecter mother effer, like talking to some people in Rangers of the New Republic. I think Rangers of the New Republic are gonna start off like after Return of the Jedi, slowly build up to where we are in Mando. I think so, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many episodes Rangers is. It was part of that thing where it's like this is an event series leading into this climactic event. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it will have multiple seasons. So I don't know how the timelines are going to work here.
My biggest question mark too is, do we have a new protagonist that we latch onto in this, or is it more event driven? As like this is in the world of the Mandalorian kind of ish, but you're gonna just see events and different groups of people. But I think you would have to have an emotional kind of attachment to somebody going through in the newer. I don't know. So that's my biggest question mark. Is like, obviously with Boba Fett, we know who our main characters are going to be. With Ahsoka, that's in the title. Mando season 3, we know we have our characters. This is my biggest question mark. Is like who is going to lead this show per se. I think everything around it will be stuff that we know. For the most part, just at earlier phases in different parts of the galaxy, but I don't know who we're gonna like be attached to kind of lead us through the show. Like who's gonna be our point of view and window into all this conflict. I don't know. I would hope it's a new character, but I could be proven wrong.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm hoping, as always, I'm always hoping for a new character. That's my big thing. New characters all the time. But I'm not really sure. I'm not really confident that they would do that. At first, I thought they would do Cara Dune, but I don't think that's going to happen now. Hopefully, it's mostly optimistically speaking. But also, it would be like an easy route for them to do a character we already know, and then just put them in there. But again, like I said, they could be, if they want to do something starting at the end of Return of the Jedi and lead up to Mando, it would have to be a new character.
Right.
But if we latch on to that new character, then it's only going to be for a short amount of time, and we were back to Mando. I don't know. I mean,
well, that's the thing too. Is like it could overlap in the sense that we could, because Mando is still detached from the New Republic. I mean, he's only seen like those certain guys, right? And obviously the prison break in season 1, and so he comes into contact, but he's not like in the thick of it. So I think they could navigate around that. But I'm also just curious what the tone of this show is going to be like. The Book of Boba Fett very much feels like that, kind of outlaw, whatever, Western kind of thing. It's like Ahsoka kind of feels like that, like a mystical, like samurai adventure. Andor feels like, the gritty spy thriller. I don't really have a bullet point sentence of what New Republic is going to be. And so, again, it's just one of those things I just need to wait and see like new information on.
Like a CSI type.
Can you imagine? It's just the X-Wing pilot with his little notepad, just like, okay. And what species was he again? Oh, that's what? Just like writing down notes, like.
Oh my gosh! How has that not been pitched yet? Star Wars CSI? Come on!
You know that one show where like the dude will just like make a crime scene pun, just put on the sunglasses and just go, yeah.
Yeah, CSI Miami. Yeah, that's great.
Can you imagine? They pull up in speeders and they there's the red tape and they're just like.
Imagine they like do that pun joke there, but instead of like the yeah scream, it's just the R2 scream. Just.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Oh my god.
We have a lot of ideas on this show. A lot of ideas I really want to pitch to Kathleen Kennedy, especially that solo magnum opus, huge show I want to do.
Have we
But-
seen a detective in Star Wars? Nah, you got
No,
my
we
mind
haven't.
spinning. Like, how has that not
Attack
been
of
a
the
thing?
Clones, right? Attack of the Clones, where he's talking
Attack
to
of-
Dexter Jester. Like that's all we
Yeah.
got.
Yeah.
But come on, like CSI Star Wars, like it's too cool. Like Law and Order Star Wars.
Have we never gotten like the
Oh.
undercover cop trope in Star Wars? Really?
This
Like,
is how
have we-
you can make the Senate a cool aspect. Or just like
Yeah.
court
Well,
drama.
that's true,
like,
right? Like Law and Order, like do the first
A
half.
Star
of
Wars
thing
court
and then-
drama would be phenomenal.
That
Oh,
would be
yes.
incredible. It's like
I mean, I think that was like a really like great like part of like the Ahsoka trial arc was
yeah. Mm-hmm.
that was
You're
great.
so right, Nathan.
You're so right.
You're so Oh my god. I do like true story, like always in my memory. When I first saw it, I didn't understand how he said that. So I thought he said Yusa right, and I was like, don't listen. The Jar Jar theory is not true. Don't
You
do
just
that.
like 15 hours of your marathon or whatever, just like Yusa. What?
Yeah, literally,
Your
I
heart
was
just
like- I
starts
was-
like, oh my
I
god.
was 2 5-hour energies in. I was just like, no.
Wait a minute. You're like, what in the Reddit is this?
It passed like a fleeting shadow, and I was left with
Oh, great. But yeah, Star Wars CSI. Like you do the first half crime drama, the second half Senate drama. Like, come on, it's like waiting to be written.
Sounds so fun. Also, I was just thinking earlier, like I find it so funny, just like the thought process of like Mando season 2, like stepped up. Like here's a whole Star Destroyer for Gideon, but then I'm just like, we only can afford like 2 X-wings to patrol, and we only get to like really talk to one of them because Dave's camera shy. Like,
I know, right?
Yeah, you know what? Now I want the brooding detective partners that don't want to be partners, and I want them some guy joining the New Republic for the first time, first day on the job, and then they run into some Empire conflict. And
please make it Filoni that just doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean, legit. Like you could have the guy like being a brand New Republic guy because the Republic has won. He wants to help support like the new regime, but also the older detective could be a guy who lived during the war.
even better, make
Galactic
one of
War.
an alien, so then you have a bunch. You could play with those issues. Especially essentially do Bright, but a hell of a lot more better.
Carson, I plead for you not to go into the conference room and mention Bright. They'll kick you
So
out.
Bright 2017, the Netflix movie.
Get out. You're like, wait.
My brain,
Will Smith kills a fairy with a broomstick.
my brain is just going
see
like
that.
everywhere because I remember like Will Smith called somebody Shrek in Bright, and my first thought is like, does Shrek exist in this universe? But also, it felt like so like weird, semi self-referential, and then I'm suddenly thinking of like the episode 6 heist episode for season 1 of Mando where Bill Burr's just making fun of Gungans, and I'm just like, this is very self-referential.
Right.
Oh, dude, I still have not seen Bright.
Don't.
I
Just
don't
don't.
think it's good. Yeah.
It thinks it solves racism. It does not solve racism.
An underwhelming
Will Smith
utopia.
and the other guy. I forget his name.
I've heard it described as Bright being a lesser Zootopia.
You're not wrong.
That's great.
Oh, there's also magic though.
Yeah.
So it's fun and quirky.
Where's my Zootopia 2 at, man? Yeah, that's a topic for a different time.
Tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. Yeah, so I'll mention it tomorrow. But yeah, where were we? Oh yeah, Cassian or New Republic, right? Yeah. I mean, overall, Pedro was talking about different TV show timelines. New Republic's the only one I can see having a different timeline. If we wanted to dig up the Ahsoka stuff that we were talking about last week, and the whole Rebel successor of it all, I don't know where that fits in the timeline. I guess it has to fit like right where Mando season 2 is if she's still looking for Thrawn. So,
Do you think? Do you guys think that Favreau, because Filoni's going to be on Ahsoka, and then obviously they're both going to be on Mando season 3. Do you think Favreau would be at the front of this show, or do you think he's just going to be executive producer and they're going to get a new person to direct and write this? I'm curious.
What is Favreau currently spearheading?
Everything.
Everything. I think Mando season 3. I think he's producing Boba Fett,
Yeah,
right?
producing and then
Producing
executive
Boba
producing both Ahsoka and Rangers.
and Rangers. So yeah, great question. I don't know who's writing, who'll be writing the show or show running it at all. I just kind of figured it would be Favreau and Filoni again, but they can't really do all of that work.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of thinking. I'm
Favreau.
like, it's too much.
But they should just run Star Wars, right? They get it. Anyways, that's it. Anyways, I think that's a great question. I would love it to be like Rick Famuyiwa or Bryce Dallas Howard, right?
That's what I was gonna say. Do we give it to one of the Mando veterans and just say, hey,
right? Because it'd be easy transition.
if Rick
Right,
got
yeah.
it, that would be phenomenal. I think that's the best case scenario is if Rick gets a showrunner and writing credit for this because that would be dream.
Yes.
Because what's going on with Rick, right? Like he did great episodes. Both seasons were some of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
And then Deborah gets Kenobi, and Rick gets Children of Bone, maybe the Lucasfilm project, because we haven't heard much about that.
Maybe that's why they didn't mention him because maybe he took Rangers and maybe it was scheduling. They decided, oh, we want you to do this instead. But I don't know. This man needs a big break because look, he did. If you have not seen the movie Dope from 2015, everybody go watch that movie because it's phenomenal.
Wow, was that 2015?
I think so. Yeah, it was 2015, and it's one of my favorite coming of age movies. I know there's been a lot of those in like the 2010s eras, but it's like really, really, really good. And then he was attached to the Flash, and he was going to do a Flash Cyborg movie. And
Don't
just absolutely pain that didn't happen.
Cyborg's still gonna be in the movie, right? Oh.
And then he was so excited. He was tweeting out comics, and then he didn't really get any work for a while after that. And then he got Mandalorian, and I'm like, and I just see him. He's so passionate about all this, especially directing, and he gets it. And I just like, he needs his own show. If anybody deserves it, I think it's him.
Ooh. We're kind of gonna get into like similar like back and forth, but I would love to see Rick do something for Marvel. I think that would be fun.
Oh yeah. Rick would kill a superhero movie.
Rick would be great. I mean, who's doing the Blade stuff right now?
That's
I don't think they lock down anybody. They're just like Blade's coming.
Exactly right. So
And
they
it's
can
a
do
movie.
Blade. It's a movie, right? Yeah. So they could have Rick do that for
Interesting.
Marvel.
That
Just
would be...
literally right across the pond. If you want to go and do that, I would love for Rick to do Blade.
Speaking of across the pond, our fellow Marvel Studios president
I see
Kevin
what you're doing
Feige
there. Nice. Wow.
has brought over Loki showrunner, name I don't remember. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I was given show notes, but I wasn't given the name.
Yeah, what is his name? We'll look this up.
Loki showrunner. I got this.
Because he's the full-on writer for Kevin Feige's Star Wars
My
film.
phone is not loading right now. Love it.
He is also a Rick and Morty writer. He wrote on Rick and Morty, so he got his start, I think.
This I can see based on the trailer I saw for Loki, but in a more serious manner.
What's his name? Michael Waldron.
There
Michael
we go.
Waldron.
Michael Waldron, who had that big, massive, not massive, but a decently sized deal with Disney in terms of he's doing now 2 seasons of Loki.
That's right.
And now he's also doing Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie in terms of writing.
Yeah, he's busy. Also, I'm reading in this article, he's currently developing Florida Man with Steven Soderbergh for Paramount Network and is writing and producing the upcoming season of Rick and Morty.
Yeah, which we kind of knew about Rick and Morty. He was a Rick and Morty writer. That's why Kevin Feige got him. Because when you're doing time travel and dimensions and stuff and Loki, you kind of want to do that with the same thing. Like Rick and Morty is based on that and a lot of different stuff too. So he has some background there. But it's cool that he's doing Kevin Feige Star Wars movie. Again, it's another white dude writing a Star Wars movie, which is kind of disappointing. But that's Star Wars for you, right? So hopefully that changes. Hopefully there's like a female director. Because I remember when Kevin Feige was announced, we're like, oh, wow, Kevin Feige's all supporting of like he did Chloe Zhao for Eternals, Kate Blanchett or Kate something for Black Widow. I forget what
Kate
her name is.
Blanchett.
Not Kate Blanchett. She's not directing Black Widow. It's like Kate
Do not
Shortland, I think.
tease me.
Kate Shortland's directing Black Widow. I have no idea who's doing that. And then, I think those are only 2 female directors from Marvel at the moment. I mean, not including like Ms. Marvel, which is a female showrunner.
Did you say Nia DaCosta?
And Nia DaCosta, yeah, for Captain Marvel too. So Feige has some background way more so than Kathleen Kennedy at this point in terms of casting or getting female directors in Star Wars or in his properties. So hopefully he translates that to Star Wars. That's my big hope. At this point, I still have no idea what the movie's going to be about, though. It's like so wide open.
And it's this, like you said, this guy's just writing. So I mean, especially with the Kevin Feige project, I think it will ultimately, turn into something that is very, very, concise and just, thoroughly looked over. I mean, this man is meticulous. Like it's what he does for a living. So whatever comes out of the writer's room, I have confidence that it's going to be entertaining at the very least. I really hope that eventually they get a big director on this, because I think it could, you have Kevin Feige producing and then big name director. And what is this going to be about? I mean, we've heard Kevin, Kevin's been on the Star Wars show. He's like, yeah, dude, I love Star Wars. He's a massive fan. But what specifically does he like about Star Wars? Is he like Jon Favreau and his action figures? And I don't know. Or is he like more driven by some of the story points? I don't know. So we shall see.
Does he also like Empire Strikes Back? Because that's a rare commodity.
That's a question. We asked the burning questions on Screen Rant to Kevin Feige.
Just for
wow, call out
Screen Rant started my Star Wars edit, but then they posted some stupid things later. I'm just like, I'm embarrassed to be on the site now.
They have different writers for different things. Yeah, you can't help it.
Just for a clarification to idiots,
Ooh, whoa, okay, Nathan with the rant.
Yeah, there was just like a clarification. Frosty from Collider was interviewing Feige, and he was asking, like, so just for a clarification, beyond your Star Wars project, how much involvement do you have with the franchise beyond that? And he's like, nothing, because a lot of people seem to think, Kathleen's out, Feige's in. Stupid clickbait. So that just
as if he has time. As right, we ever had a time.
He just announced 20 different projects at Investor Day, maybe more.
And then he's just like, and that's not all. That's just phase 4.
Yeah, he's like, and that's we project the next 5 to 60 years alone. We're going for another 20.
There's 15 projects between now and 2020, the end of 2023.
Not even any official things on mutants in the MCU. So it's
exactly, which he's playing coy on. That's phase 5, so he has tons of stuff that he's busy with.
Not even an Avenger film. Not even the next Avenger film yet.
We don't even know when Avengers 5 is happening. So
literally,
long time away from all of that. But there's no way in heck Feige was ever going to replace Kathleen Kennedy. I still doubt Jon Favreau or Filoni are going to replace Kennedy too.
No.
Yeah, and people fundamentally do not understand that the job of Kathleen Kennedy and the job of Jon Favreau are very fundamentally different. Kathy is, a producer, but first and foremost, she's, keeping this company together, keeping all the, financial side of things together and making all the decisions based on the data and then the creatives and then all. I mean, it's a huge deal. It's not just the creative vision that goes into the business of Lucasfilm, and I feel like people just scream at her for doing her job sometimes, and it's you realize that her job is not what you think it is, and it's kind of I don't know, and then they're just but Mandalorian good, and she's number one producer on the show. It's just funny.
Her and Feige are different people. Feige is a once in a lifetime kind of producer. Feige is like he's deep in the trenches in terms of story development from the very beginning, but he's also a very good producer like Kathleen Kennedy. But Kevin Feige's once in a lifetime person. You're not going to get that in every single company. That's not who Kathleen Kennedy is. But she's also involved with the producing of like Mando and other shows as well.
Let's not forget that she produced like several Spielberg movies. I mean, she got her start in the 80s and has been producing movies for 30 years. So she and is transitioned into an executive.
Man,
exactly.
Even why do you hate her now? I don't get it.
Yeah, they just use stuff to hate her about her. But even like you transition to Warner Brothers, like Warner Brothers has a head producer, in charge of DC, but they're not like Kevin Feige either. I mean, they're not like in charge of like all the story development and every single thing. Kevin Feige again is like a once in a lifetime person, and even if when you bring him over to Star Wars, he's just producing the movie. He still has to answer to guess who? Kathleen Kennedy. It's not like he is like, hey, Kathleen, I'm producing the Star Wars movie, so this is all mine, and it's like I'm making the unilateral decisions. No, you're not. That's not what's happening. That's what some people want. That's what some people hope. But that is,
and even to that point, doesn't Kathy have to answer a bit to Iger too? Like, isn't there?
Oh yeah, they all have to answer to Iger. Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're all answered at the end of the day to. I mean, I think Iger's gone, right? Whoever's in charge now.
Well, he was at Investor Day. I think he's back.
I think he's just a board member or I can't remember. And then I thought the other guys. Alan or whatever is like transitioned into a different role now.
But what about Brie Larson? Because if you didn't know, apparently she's coming for George Lucas's job.
Yeah.
Because George is still working.
I guess Brie's YouTube videos totally give off that vibe. Like she's coming for
Congrats
George's.
To Brie Larson on getting the silver play button. By the way,
I was about to say, yeah, she passed 100K subscribers today. That's awesome. Her videos are doing great. I'm subscribed.
Same.
Yeah, here we are.
Ring the bell for
come on the show.
Right? No, oh my god.
Bree comes on the show the same episode as a Kenobi writer. What's his name?
Joby. We have special Brie Larson and Joby Harold together at once.
Oh no!
Legends together. Oh man, it's all too good.
You know what? I'm gonna go on their IMDb's and find a disparate connection just for a great connection, just a great question, and I'll be like, so 13 years ago, Joby, you served as a producer on this short film that Bree knew the friend of. Tell us about
it. Bree was supposed to be in the sequel to the King Arthur movie. But it never happened.
The post-credit scene, another one that Nathan discovered that there was.
That's insane.
I love just laughing and dragging Mike Zero's different thumbnails. Like, oh my god, just seeing it's hilarious. It was like Brie Larson leak makes me physically ill, and then right under is like Christopher Nolan Star Wars leak makes me the happiest person alive.
Oh,
you're so obvious. Like
it's bad. Yeah, horrible. But yeah, I'm very happy in Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie. I think this is his third one, possibly, right after Rogue Squadron and Taika's mystery movie.
I think so.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Well, actually,
right? Some of the articles were hinting at like, oh, this is probably going to be the 2025 movie. I'm like, is it though? Because Taika is already writing, and they just tapped this writer. I'm like, it seems like Taika's going to be ready to go back right after Love and Thunder. At least I can see him doing that.
Star Wars development is so fascinating, right? Like it took Ryan. But Ryan started working on The Force Awakens or on The Last Jedi while The Force Awakens was doing his thing like in 2014, 2015. Yeah, so that's like
they called Frank Oz for Yoda in 2014. I always remember.
It's at least a year, a good year of pure writing.
Yeah, but then we have this news already of Feige's writer, and his movie at the earliest right now seems to be 2027.
Yeah, and don't forget that Taika also has a co-writer in the 1917 co-writer.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah,
she's probably pulling the legwork right now on the screenplay. I mean, based on Taika's ideas and their ideas together, because I mean, Taika's off shooting or about to shoot Thor: Love and Thunder right now in Australia or wherever they are.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I have some good stuff to talk about Thor tomorrow.
Thor tomorrow is Loki on set. Damn it!
No,
Which Loki?
But,
Matt Damon, Loki, let's go.
yeah, I want to talk about Matt Damon and stuff. It goes into like the potential plot of Thor 4, but that's for tomorrow.
I swear to God, if you swing it around to actual like Tom Hiddleston.
I could. Yeah, we have a good show tomorrow.
Drag it.
You're just waiting to be wrong.
Joby Harold produced John Wick 3? What?
What? How?
My least favorite John Wick.
This is how Joby Harold. That's crazy.
Wait a minute.
I still love all the John Wicks for clarification.
And he produced Edge of Tomorrow. Oh, he's redeemed in my eyes.
No, this is how he produced him. This is how he produced him, right? Tom Cruise and Doug Liman are like talking in a conference room. For some reason, Joby Harold walks into the wrong room, but he overhears something, and they're like, you know what? F it. Just come in here. We'll write your name down, produce it for a second, and then leave.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
IMDb says Obi-Wan is filming, so that's interesting.
Oh, I'll change that when I get home, you know.
Yeah, just go on there, log in.
Yeah, don't they also say like Mon Mothma's in Kenobi? Like,
yeah, it's great.
Yeah. They say one episode.
Yeah, IMDb, you can change literally anything. Yeah.
I mean, maybe I could believe we don't know where Kenobi's gonna go. I mean, we're out here talking like, oh my God, yes, mere meters away from Vader on Coruscant, sneaking.
Oh God. Yeah. Rematch of the century, right, guys? Vader versus Obi-Wan.
I was going off of Carson's thing before like we even heard that.
Oh yeah. Carson's theory of like sneaking on Coruscant, which Coruscant has a likelier chance to be in Cassian Andor if we talk about the same.
I definitely yeah. Now I just don't know where Kenobi's going. I
hopefully we just get Coruscant somewhere in live action. That seems very.
We gotta. I mean, if that's the headline of like that's what George wanted to do, man. Like that's so cool if you can finally do that and get to show George
wanted. Yeah.
Bring George to set and he's like, I wrote 75 scripts of a underworld show and the world of Coruscant.
Get out of here, George. Thank you.
Yes, episode 7 treatment. No, we're not. We love George.
No, yeah, we do. I also wanted to note how it's very fascinating in comparing Marvel to Disney. Feige always seems to get like a lot of writers, and then he gets his director on board, and those writers and directors are very different. Like it's rare that directors end up writing their movies. Like you have your James Gunn, you have your Ryan Coogler, and your Taikas. But even for the Russo brothers, they didn't really write their movies. They had I forget the writers aboard for like Civil War, Winter Soldier, and
it's
Marcus and McFeely, right?
Marcus, yeah.
Yes.
I was trying to come up with their first names, but yeah.
Yeah.
Christopher Marcus, Stephen McFeely.
Yeah.
Or it's vice versa. I've also
vice versa.
I mixed them, but yeah.
But they did Russo brothers movies.
Still so.
What?
It's not. I'm just like still so frustrated that the writers themselves like don't understand the own
in terms of
time travel logic that they wrote.
Yeah.
But they do. All right.
But yeah, I was gonna say like Kevin Feige usually gets a different writer to write a script, and then a director comes on board, and maybe then the director comes in and partakes in the writing, and they get a co-writing credit.
Are you telling me Peyton Reed did not write Ant-Man on the Wasp?
No, he didn't. I don't think so. Right?
No, I don't think so. I think same with like John Watts. He didn't write the Spider-Man films.
Exactly, he doesn't write Spider-Man movies either. So it's very interesting that he's doing the same thing now for Star Wars. In the past couple of years for Star Wars, Rian Johnson, that is a Rian Johnson movie. He wrote Star Wars. Force Awakens, Lawrence Kasdan, all that stuff did it. But J.J. Abrams also had a lot of credit in writing The Force Awakens as well. It went through a lot
of his enemy.
Wait, why does it say Paul Rudd as a writing credit? On Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Probably for like producing improv and such.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. There. But yeah, there's
Same thing for like,
There's 5 credited writers on Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is kind of insane.
crazy.
I'm hesitant to like fully include Paul Rudd on that, but yeah.
Okay, so 4, but
I can believe 4, but that can also be. Yeah, we're not here to discuss it.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, like, it's very interesting that it seems to be doing the same formula for Star Wars. He has this Loki showrunner who, at this point, I highly doubt he is also going to be directing the movie, which is interesting. Like, yeah, JJ doing Rise, JJ did Force Awakens, Ryan did his movie. Gareth Edwards didn't write Rogue One, I don't think.
no, who wrote? I can't remember. But yeah,
but yeah, Solo is also different. But for the main Star Wars movies, a trilogy at least.
Yeah, they get a core spearheaded person to
exactly. So it's gonna be very interesting to see who Feige ends up picking then for his movie, and if they then go on to have a writing credit.
Imagine Feige pulls Rian Johnson.
That would be crazy. That would never happen, but.
Ooh, no, he's like Brian be like, I know, I wrote it, like, a trilogy.
Yeah, he'll kick off the Loki showrunner and be like, yeah, I'm just writing my own movie.
I really hope we start hearing more stuff on the ball rolling after Knives Out too.
I mean, right? Like at that point, if there's nothing to hear after Knives Out 2, it's a wrap.
Adam and Kelly in Knives Out 2 make it happen.
And thank you.
I think I've already given up on Ryan coming back to Star Wars, but at least for, I don't know, a while.
Carson, you're not allowed to say that on this podcast.
I know I'm not, but
Carson, I'm on the edge, and you're about to push me off.
It's been 4 years since or like 3
The day
years.
that Ryan officially leaves his project is going to be a dark day on Twitter.
In terms of hope from the side of Kevin Feige, no, it's just like it was like funny because like Feige was like being asked about like how like far ahead he like plans out stuff, and he was like, I was talking about Doctor Strange like 8 years before we even made that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crazy.
So,
and his Star Wars movie seems to be 7 years away, so I guess that's his thing. Just to like start thinking about it so far away, and then actually get pen to paper when it gets very close to it.
I don't know. Didn't I make a whole rant of like I feel like Star Wars is entering a fanboy regression with like all these spin-off show types and all that. I'm scared.
I think that's the case for the TV shows.
Maybe they're trying like 50-50 it. I don't know.
Mostly like Mando. I talked about it last week where Mando put a bad taste in my mouth. And granted, it's a good show. I'm not saying it's a horrible show. But Mando put a bad taste in my mouth in terms of the prospects of the development of other Star Wars live-action TV shows. And like your New Republic, your Ahsoka's, your Mando Season 3s, your... Mostly the Jon Favreau Filoni stuff. I know that's like crazy to say because Jon Favreau and Filoni, they love Star Wars, yeah. But it's also like their methods and their ideas. While I love most of it, there's that thing in the back of my head where I'm like, I don't like the direction there.
It's an interesting thing of like, I look at a show like Rebels and I like look at like so many like episodic instances of developing the character and stuff. Like I was thinking back to like I was watching like from season 1 like Ezra dealing with like Empire Day and his birthday and stuff. Like that's such like a phenomenal episode emotionally so early on. And then I'm thinking back to this season of Mandalorian. I'm like, oh my god, if I cut out all the action, I think like the most emotional Din Djarin moments could probably be compressed into a 20-minute video, and that's not
20 minutes, if that.
Probably
10 minutes. Yeah, right. Like I think episode 8, Rick's episode where he's talking to Baby Yoda in the car or in the ship. 7, yeah. Talking to him in the ship, and he's like, Baby Yoda, like you have to go there because I can't train you. Like I can't possibly do that.
That was that was Rodriguez's episode.
Rodriguez episode. Okay, yeah, Rodriguez.
That was before they went down to Python or whatever.
I love that whole conversation, but that was like 2 minutes long. And then I liked some of the character stuff in Rick's episode where he's talking to Blofeld, whatever his name is.
Mayfield. I do like the. I like this. And like at the end of the episode, I love the script flipped when he's like he's saying Gideon's words back to him, like it's like come back to my child.
fantastic.
That's good. Yeah.
Right.
Fantastic. But yeah, all the character moments are
Isn't it like messed up though? Like
minimal.
now that we finally like ditched the helmet, that now the child's gone.
Yes. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna see him even revert, like, you know, maybe revert and hide under it a little bit.
God damn it!
And I do. I think he's gonna be pouty in the beginning of
No,
season
I
3.
think you're right. And
I
God,
agree.
God,
1000%.
You're right. And oh my God, we just got it off.
That's what the arc has to be, right? I think for Din's arc, he's going to be in season 3.
What is he now that he is without the kid, and kind of now realizing that he's without the way of whatever he's been following?
His creed, ever since season 1, his creed was to find a family, and then he did that, and now he's kind of empty.
So maybe he goes back to them at the start, and he like,
has lineage that he doesn't want.
Yeah, exactly.
I pretty much.
Like, I imagine him like being on a farmland, like being like, "I'm done with this," and Bo-Katan's in the background, like, "Dude, we have to settle this Darksaber thing. Please come talk to me." And he's like, "I don't want to do it anymore." And
Please
he's like,
play fight me for 1 minute, and then we can just leave.
Yeah. So that's what I imagine Din. But the whole part of like understanding who Din is without Baby Yoda, that's kind of my big gripe with Mandalorian, where it's like we shouldn't have to discuss that in our 3rd season. We should already know who Din is as a person without Grogu through these last 2 seasons. Like, yes, it's a partner show, but we should know who Din is as a person.
We're gonna have to read the companion novel that takes place before the show, just to get.
And I think part of it writes itself into a box because the character has been, you know, rescued but groomed into this way that, you know, has kind of suppressed any kind of personality. So it writes itself into a place where you have to explicitly show what he's becoming, and you know, and so that's just been interesting. That it probably hasn't accelerated as much as we wanted it to, or you know, give more scenarios in which it's tested to kind of see what he would do. So I guess we'll see in season 3. I mean, that's pretty much my answer for anything Mandalorian right now.
Which is as soon as season 2 ended, that's been a big bug for me. That's why I had so many arguments with people, because it's like I shouldn't have to wait till our 3rd season to get some character development.
Same with the villain too.
2 years, like, and for another story.
Yeah, and we have to wait 2 years, which is a bummer. But yeah, same thing for the villain, Carson. It's just like 2 seasons. By this point, like you said, Carson, I think you're exactly right in the sense that for Vando's arc, I'm not saying he had 0 arc. He had his arc, but it was basic, like, this is a loner guy with his bounty hunter methods who finds Baby Yoda, Grogu, and then becomes a better person. He learns to let loose of that creed a little bit, little by little. That's kind of it. I want to learn more about like what his thoughts are on stuff, but he's kind of that when you put the helmet on, he's a quiet character. That's just who he is.
Like usually at this point, we'd be saying, okay, so by season 6, I can see the character kind of, you know, this is his end game because, you know, XYZ, you know, he interacted with this character this way. And so it's kind of a problem, right? Because in a lot of ways, he's been passive, right? He's like kind of a passive character. And it's hard to latch on to passivity unless a lot of stuff is happening. And granted, a lot of stuff did happen in this season, so we kind of forget about it. And then when quiet moments do kind of remind you, like, oh, wait, I think we need more of this. Like, you know.
You won't, but...
yeah, interesting.
It is very... that's my big gripe with Mando. I was like... As soon as season 2 ended, I'm like, I want more character and quiet moments, emotional moments. And we got emotional moments with Baby Yoda towards the end. And a little bit throughout. Like, we got cute moments.
I am filled.
I want more.
I am filled with so many just, like, false ghost memories of just, like, our speculation of, like, how characters could be developed. Like, just Moff Gideon alone, or just, like, the power plays we could have and the obsessions, but, like, we don't dive into anything. We're just like, oh,
right.
No.
We're like, so this is going to be a splinter cell, and then he's lusting for this kind of power, but it's not going to interfere with this, and then we just get...
We got
Mind games.
finale.
We got that slight hint of just like at the finale
Because
at the end.
order. That was the only line that we got because it's about establishing order.
But look how many dark sabers he broke. That's cool.
Yeah, but see, he did play mind tricks on Din. Remember, guys, he forced him to battle him, and then he tricked him. And,
like, guys, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't thought about Mandalorian in probably like 3 weeks. Like, it's
My friendship died.
You know, and part of it has been because of this, but
definitely.
Okay.
I think about other shows all the time, like in other Star Wars content. I'm thinking about.
Yeah, like
it's just interesting.
The big gripe with Mandalorian is like I'm a huge television guy. I watch lots of TV. It's just like I see better, simple character growth in a show like Cobra Kai, for example, which isn't the best like show of all time, but it's a show that's fun, that's simple, but also has good character growth.
Yeah, I'm on season 1 right now. I'm 8 episodes into the show or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm gonna need to rewatch Karate Kid first, but I'm going to dive in.
It's great. The two main characters, the two like recurring characters that come back, they have all this complex stuff because they're adults and they're loners and they have this family and there's all this other stuff, and then it's like, should they be
Johnny
petty?
run a car dealership?
Yeah, and it's like, should we be petty still? And like, and he just like kicks this guy's coffee, and it's like, oh my god, you're so stupid.
It's great. It's like I say it all the time to my friends. I'm like, Cobra Kai is the most surprisingly complex show I've seen in a while. It's a very simple show. They hit you over the head with the themes,
but it works.
But it works. And the characters are complex. Like no character is like super simple.
In the genre of like the 30+ year sequel, would you say it's probably like the most actual like evolved that you've seen?
That is a good genre, 30-year-old sequels.
Blade Runner 2049.
Blade 2049 is like the best. Yeah, Cobra Kai is definitely on top of there. It's a top tier show. I think so. I think it's a very enjoyable show.
They also have that added benefit of it actually being like a show as well.
Yeah, and it definitely has a little bit different tone too. Like, it does have that heart of everything that came before it, but it also is modernized in a sense. So,
and I still need to dive in, but I'm just like, from like the tiny bits I've seen, I'm just so shocked that this first started as a YouTube original series.
Right, a YouTube back when they had YouTube. What was it called? YouTube Red. Like, oh my god, who bought that?
Yeah.
Now it's just
thank goodness Netflix saved it.
Yeah, thank God. Okay, now it's better than ever. But yeah, going back to Mando, that differs from Mando in the sense that Mando, in its prerogatives right now, its priority right now, run by Filoni and Favreau, seems to be connecting with the larger Star Wars universe and creating those connections with the canon rather than I don't want to say such a big statement, but like rather than having a good like cohesive story.
Well, and it's like
moments.
It's not even that. It's like
you know what I mean?
Now the absence of what changed the character and what revealed the character is now turning to another. Okay, now we have to care about Mandalore, but does our character even care about Mandalore? Does our character even care about the Empire without, this child in the middle of those two things? It's like, what does our character care about now? And so I don't know. It's very. I have a lot more questions than I have speculation, which is usually weird because it should have been at least hinted at in season 2 by the time we got around to like the main gist of the show. Once season 1 established like what's going on, and then season 2 we're gonna get into everything.
Yeah, most of my gripes though come not with like season 3. That's definitely the case, but also with what happened throughout season 2, from episode 1 to episode 8 of season 2. I just had a lot of gripes in terms of what they did with the returning characters like Ahsoka, Boba Fett, who didn't really do much of anything besides have some great acting scenes. They became a limo driver after a while.
We need more Cobb Vanth instances of just like, because that's like a not as developed character that you spend time like having a development with, and like Din can go through something that aids in the development.
Yeah, and oddly, it's just funny that was the first episode of the season, and I think it was the most clear and satisfying ending.
An IMAX expansion, and they hooked me, and then never again.
But even with episode 1, as soon as they did that post-credit whatever with Boba Fett, I'm like, that teased you with what the season was going to be. Like, this is going to be a season where you're going to have intermittent missions, but then it's always going to have like Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, all these different characters coming in.
even then, for me, Bo-Katan is like right under Cobb. Out of
Bo-Katan's great. Bo-Katan was the best served character,
Yeah.
and she actually, I liked Bryce Dallas Howard's episode a lot because it actually had to interact with them. They actually had a discussion about
Frog Lady,
Frog Lady, and what it meant to them. But the Boba Fett ones and stuff like that. Even I loved the Rick Famuyiwa one, which didn't have much to do with the rest of the season. But I like the character moments in that episode. I think it's just rare for Mandalorian to have those good character moments. I think they focused on connections and stuff. I know Favreau cares about the story. He cares about what happened with Din, but at least in terms of execution, I don't think it gets there.
They like hitting the bullet points. They like getting to that next thing. Yeah, which I think has definitely showed its flaws and successes at times. Like
I don't want to crap on the show. It's a okay show. I think it's a solid okay show. It's not a Critics' Choice Award nominee. Get out of there. But anyways,
best drama.
Best drama. That's a Better Call Saul. Okay, in the same league.
I mean, I don't really watch much other TV shows, but I'm just like best drama. Like it's so. We're just having wacky adventures at this point. We're not really.
I'm very curious to see how the Marvel shows do now. There's gonna be like 6 Marvel shows. Like, how many of them are going to get as well received as Mando? It's gonna be very curious. But that's for tomorrow. I think we can. Do we have anything else to talk about?
If you guys would like to do your High Republic spoilers, I can dip out for a bit, and then you guys can just like type in the private chat when I can hop back.
Real quick, before we dive into spoilers, I can give a non-spoilers thoughts on some of the villains.
We can talk about the Nile.
Yeah, just talk about the Nile from a non-spoilers, but then I'll tell everybody when we get into spoilers. It'll be obvious. From a non-spoiler standpoint, and this is kind of like a good tease for Nathan in a sense as well. I think the villains are fantastic. I think the villains, the Nile, they're the right antagonist for the Jedi at this time. Because they're very unpredictable. They're very unique in the sense like you don't know what their plans are. You don't know what exactly drives them, and you don't know what exactly what their big goals and everything like that are. They're just very anarchist in a way. They're out for certain things. The Jedi just don't like fundamentally agree with at this time of the High Republic. So like, how do they handle that? And that's very interesting because it gets into who the Nile are, but also gets into how the Jedi respond to such a situation. And is very different from how I think the prequel Jedi would have responded to the Nile in a way, and what happened with the Great Disaster. So
are the Jedi better than crashing into your home, being like, I did what I had to, but the Force will be with you?
Oh, Nathan, I brought up this exact thing today in the other podcast. I'm like, remember Trace and Rafa? And Bill and Trey were like, oh yeah. And I'm like, remember when the Jedi was like, thoughts and prayers? We're going back up. You coming? Oh, you're poor? Okay, you can stay down here.
Remember when Luminar's directed childhood and just left him on the streets?
Like, people crap on that arc, and that part of the episode is just so memorable and so important. It's like, I love that. I just absolutely genius for that.
I hate when people are just like, oh, they just ended right back up where they started. I'm just like, but we had character development.
It is great.
Yes.
That thoughts and prayers is so perfectly meta to what's going on in our modern day society, but it's also perfect for the Jedi at the time as well. It's like, oh, that was so good.
Yeah,
and I'm so jaded. I'm so. Oh God, I see so many of my friends too. And I'm like, damn it, why? Where they'll just get so hyped over action stuff like the Luke scene or something. And I'm just like, but
you're
then
like Trace and Rafa, they're going to
they'll trash on Trace and Rafa. Some of them will trash on Luke characterization in Last Jedi. I'm like, God damn it, why can't you just see writing? Like, why can't you read words? Why does it have to be flashy action all the time?
Oh man,
Nathan's
letting it out.
I know, I love it.
I was literally, I got to a point where I was just like, I don't like High Republic stuff was started dropping, and I was just like, I I know.
This
And
will
what's
save
funny,
you. This will bring you to the light. I promise you. You'll get to
will.
page 300 and you'll be like, I am fulfilled again.
I know because I got both the physical and the audiobook of that. I am fully trusting that. But even when it was dropping, I was like, I feel nothing right now for Star Wars.
Right. Yeah. And so that's kind of, honestly, that same hollowness you could tie into the Nile, because not only do we not we understand that they're complex and tangled, and we don't really understand the power dynamic yet between everybody, but what we do understand is it's a false sense of belonging. It's I call them on the other podcast that I said they're kind of the antithesis, or the anti-Jedi, in the sense that they're what the Jedi would be if everything was completely flipped, right? And they have like this organizational hierarchy, but it really doesn't lead to anything. It only means manipulation and expendable resources for those who are calling the shots at the top. And there's no relation. There's no like, we're not going to share this glory with you or whatever, or we're not going to like, grow together or do anything together. We are just the numbers, and we are under this guise of like, okay, you can be everything with the Nile. You can get everything with the Nile. You know what I mean? And so they're very much like
Life
this.
is good, but it can be better.
You know what? That is what the Nile are. If I could pitch that, if
Wow.
nobody's read A Light of the Jedi, but they've seen Wonder Woman 1984, it's like if the Wish Stone or whatever was like this thing. I think about their ship too, because the ships too, of like, oh, you get this your own individuality, but really that doesn't mean anything. Like, it's funny because they all, like, the Jedi have the very similar appearances and the same robes and whatnot, but they each have an individual interpretation of the Force in this book, whereas the Nile have very different like ships, and they have different outfits and spray paint and all this stuff to like define themselves, yet they're really just hiding under it.
Everything I hear about the Nile is basically what I thought I was going to get out of the Knights of Ren.
In a way,
what? That would have been amazing.
That chaotic group with like some kind of ideal. Yeah, that would have been great. But yeah, when I was first like learning about the Nile as they were getting introduced, I'm like, okay, so they're just space Vikings. Like, how do they pose a threat to the Jedi? But oh my god, like the Nile really exceeded my expectations in terms of like their hierarchy, their structure. Their structure is so unique, so cool. So there's a structure. There could be a lack of structure as well too. It's kind of very interesting. And what their plans are, what their goals are, is very surprising as well.
Right.
Like Carson said, it's like very Wonder Woman-ish. Like what we have is great, but it can be better, because they start using certain things to get their way, but they just want more, and it's very different from the Jedi, who are like, they just follow the will of the Force. They try to help people as much as they can. But also at the same time, like, as we get to spoilers at a different discussion, like the Jedi are pretty flawed here too. Like it's very interesting.
I say yes and no. Like,
it is the High Republic. These are like certain Jedi here are very ideal, but they're also very flawed too, potentially as well.
A human Jedi, not
surprising, right?
I'd say that's a better word. Like
yeah.
I think we've been conditioned to like view the Jedi in a certain way, that when we read into like a human emotion of like, oh, this person has like guilt, how dare they, like, it's like, oh, like, wow, you're a baby, like, you're a Jedi. You should
in order
like...
of Anakin's all right, but they actually have like outlets to clarify their emotions. Cool.
Right.
There's a certain passage though that I was referring to in terms of like this one Jedi made this one statement, and I was like, I literally made this one statement, I'm like, I don't know about that. Like towards the end of the book, it's very interesting. But yeah, with the Nile specifically, I want to talk about non-spoilers on Markian Ro. Markian Ro blew me away. Fantastic villain. And it was funny, I was watching the interview with, I would really recommend people watch it. It's an interview with K-2SO and Star Wars Explained on his channel. and he was talking about Marky and Rowe and how he was trying to develop him and make him different. Like he thought of Marky and Rowe. I don't want to say this as an exact quote, but I think he was talking about Marky and Rowe like before even diving into what the Nile were. Because he wanted to make the villain. Yeah, this is your villain for the High Republic. You have to make it very unique. He wanted to make it unique from Vader, unique from Sidious, unique from Kylo Ren. So he really tried to separate him from them, but also give him villain characteristics, human characteristics. And I think Charles Soule knocked it out of the park with Marky and Rowe. I think the first introduction you have with the character, I literally tweeted out like, "This guy is amazing." Like without even knowing his overall plans or his overall like ideas or what he wants to do, is like the way he walked about himself, the way he talked to other individuals, the way other people thought of him, and the way he dressed. It's just like, oh, this guy is very imposing and very mysterious, and I love it.
Yeah, I would say definitely mysterious. Nathan, you're going to get to the point where the character is introduced, and it's mysterious because the scene that is in it is like you feel like you've already been introduced to the bads, and then it's kind of just this lurking corner instance of like this guy, and he's over in the corner, and you're like, okay, like I don't understand like why he's just sitting there, like how does he fit into things? And
like an evil Aragorn or something.
And you know, like he's very much waiting to pounce, and like you don't understand his power dynamic. Really, you just get little shades of it, and then it all starts to come together. I would say the latter half of the book, and you're like, oh, now I understand this character's motivations, and I understand why he's doing what he's doing and how he's doing what he's doing. It's very interesting. It's like a slow development, like it's like a slow burn character, but it's so worth it. And it's especially me and Evan got to talk about the ending because there's a lot there. With going forward.
We want a second year, but also I want to. Yeah, what was I gonna say about Markian? Just his slow progress. Because last week I didn't really know what his ideas are going to be, but now that I've read the book, I'm like, whoa, okay, this is very interesting. And speaking of stuff that we can reveal, like what Charles Soule revealed, like in the lead up to Light of the Jedi, is that his like title is called the Eye of the Nile. That's his big title. And I remember I asked Charles Soule a question like a couple months ago. I'm like, he's the Eye of the Nile, and in his plot synopsis it says like he's the Eye of the Nile. He's like one of the most important members of the Nile, but he's not their leader. And I'm like, Charles Soule, how does this make sense? I'm like, you said he's the Eye of the Nile, but he's not like their leader. Like, and he's like, oh, you have to read the book to find out. I'm like, okay, because I remember I was slightly disappointed. I'm like what's gonna make this character interesting if he's just like a certain just random figure? Like Kylo Ren was also like the leader of the First Order, but he was also like a major figure. Giving orders as well. It's like, is he Kylo Ren kind of character? Or what's his role here? So slowly having that question that I asked Charles Soule months ago answered in this book was very fascinating to see. Ooh. Yeah.
Well, I am sold.
Yeah.
Well, leave me to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're getting to spoilers now.
Yeah, if you just like on the private chat on here, just like type in "I'm good," then I'll just pop back on.
Yeah, we'll give like probably like 10, 15, just
10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
spoil the chat. So Markian dies? No, I'm kidding. I was very like, this guy can't die at the end of this book, right? But then it got to the point where I'm like,
I asked the guys today their reaction to the passage. I won't read it again.
Let me get my book real quick.
Where is this? Here it is. All right, I'm on page 367. Oh, wait, you can't hear me.
Say it again.
Page 367.
Ooh. I wonder if I have that one bookmarked as well.
You probably do. It's the end of the interrogation with load in.
I do have it bookmarked. That's great, dude. This whole chapter, I was like, I have to bookmark it.
Oh my god!
This whole chapter was incredible.
Dude, and Loden like using the force against them, and then like throwing them against them. Oh my god!
I'm like, Loden, let's go.
When you read the passage, Marchion Ro reached inside his tunic and pulled out an object of stone and metal, a rod, 3 hands long, carved and incised with symbols, screaming faces, fire, chains. It looked like it had been melted once and reforged. As his hand touched the object, it began to glow, a sickly purple color that somehow overpowered the star-bright lighting of the prison deck. This thing was almost as fully to blame for what happened to his ancestors as the Jedi. But that was an old story, and this was a new time. He could accomplish what they could not, or they had not. What?
What is that?
Dude.
What is that, dude? Like, I'm trying to envision, like, what this thing is, because, like, Charles went into detail there. Screaming faces, fire, chains, melted, reforged. Purple color. But yeah, it was almost to blame for what happened to his ancestors as Jedi.
So we know it's powerful, right?
What?
Like, it has to... My thing is it's probably an artifact that leads to something. You know, I don't think it's
artifact.
I don't think it's gonna be like, oh, he's a secret Sith that survived all this time. It's not gonna be that, but I think this could be connected to like some dark side power in a way that could maybe, you know, it would explain like maybe his family got like power hungry for it, and then the Jedi were trying to eradicate whatever this power was or whatever this thing can do down to existence, and it's like. Maybe, you know, his father had this like quest for him, like, hey, like you need to carry this on, and then it's like this was like the main part, like, yeah, be the Eye of the Nile, but when the time is right, you will unlock this and do this. You know what I mean? And so that was my first thought, but I'm like, what does it mean for like, I don't know, what does it mean?
It reminds me when I read that passage, the first thing that came to mind was Lord of the Rings. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings guy, but I'm like, this could be like what the Ring was, where it was like it had a whole different types of people obsessed with it. People fought over it, and it had a lot of power. So that's kind of what I was envisioning here. And in terms of Star Wars, this could be like an ancient dark side artifact, and we've seen what dark side artifacts do to people. Makes them see weird visions, see weird things. So I can see how it messes up his ancestors because they become obsessed with it. But also with the Jedi in terms of them wanting to have it, possibly killing his ancestors or fighting with his ancestors against it to try and steal it away. Because he does not like the Jedi. That's one thing that I was very interested to see here. He has a past with the Jedi, and that was crazy to me.
You know what? Now that I think that he's taking this thing out in front of Loden, I think it might do something to Loden. I think it might.
Whoa!
I think it might like. I don't know if not like possess or like it could
corrupt
Loden in a way. Like I would, and then think about the dynamic where you get a changed Loden meeting Bell back for the first time, and you get a tragic occurrence of like Bell like, Master, like, what are you doing? Like
Bell having to kill him.
Oh no!
I was listening to the Sky Talkers podcast, and they said, could the High Republic lead to the Lost 20? The Lost 20 hasn't been talked about a lot in terms of the prequels, but there was a group of Jedi that left the Lost 20. It was discussed in Kevin Scott's Dooku Jedi Lost book, where there's a sect of Jedi that just left the Order, the Lost 20. Right. Could this lead up to that, where certain Jedi have different ideas, and they're like, you know what, I don't like where this is going.
You know what? I think you could be right on that now, because I'm thinking about Elzar Mann as a character, and I'm thinking, what is the manifestation of Elzar Mann going too far? And we even get the hints of that in this, of like, oh, now he can finally explore because he's going to be on the council, and now he kind of feels free, but also like limited because nobody really agrees with him half the time except for Avar.
They totally had something when they were Padawans, right?
Yes. Let's talk about that.
They were after when they were Padawans.
And let's talk about just like the attachment of these people in general, because it's interesting.
It's super interesting. I think it's similar and not so similar to what was going on in the prequels. At this time, it still seems like attachment is not a good thing. Like even now, even in the height of the Jedi, it seems like attachment is like, Avar, we can't really go with what our emotions are wanting at this point. There's a lot of like unbridled sexual tension, and they're just like we can't do it. We can't do it. We have to like be Jedi.
Right.
So even at this point in the High Republic, 200 years, attachment is still a thing like where they have to be close.
But it doesn't seem. It seems like they still acknowledge it. Like it
yes, they are.
I think the difference is they're not like suppressing it. They're at least acknowledging it's there and it's like a human emotion. And so I think that's where it differs, because it's like hey, if we get attached, we're not going to be able to, we could potentially be conflicted in saving this person in trouble, or saving the whatever, hurtling towards this moon. But in the prequels, it's very much like treated as a sin. Here, I think it's like, hey, we should this is probably for the best. Like, you know what I mean? It's more relaxed in that sense, but it's still, this epilogue is so interesting because it's kind of like it's like the hints of that. And I don't think attachment necessarily will be the downfall of this whole era, but I think it's certainly much, in the bigger picture, because it's like we're gonna see like more decisions having to be made of how to deal with the Nile, right? Like we saw how big the council decision here was. And I want to find the Jorah Malley quote, because I think that was great. Really good.
When I was talking about trying to say, like, in the non-spoilers, like, she had a very controversial opinion of the Force. She said, like, the Jedi are follow the good side of the Force, so that's obviously like the light side of the Force. We're like, huh? I'm like, Jorah, you're kind of wrong.
I'm gonna find this quote because it's
okay. While you're finding that quote, I also want to talk about like the vision and the whole attachment thing that we were just talking about.
Yes.
One of my favorite quotes is by Elzar Mann here, says, like, the look she gave him, referring to Avar, the look she gave him was like that sea he found inside himself, the Force, deep and endless and impossible to fully comprehend. You could drown in it. And I'm like, all this like love he has for Avar.
Right, and that's where I think of like
her too, right? Like Avar is supposed to be like this pristine Jedi. She has like, she's awesome, she's incredible. But
connects everybody, is the continuity of the Jedi in a way. Yeah, she's the one that collaborates them and makes them see that they're better together than their individual interests all spread out, like the Nile are.
Exactly. So but I also think like she has to, like, Sky Talkers were talking about it. They're like, she has to get knocked down and pegged, not knocked down, but like some vulnerability inside of her.
Oh, definitely.
So I can't wait to see what happens with her in the comic books and with her in the main story here too. Because her and Elzar just had quite the dynamic that I was not expecting, but I super loved. It was like two adults who used to have a relationship, but now like acknowledge it, but can't really do anything about it. But it's so very interesting.
Okay, so I found the quote that I wanted to say. So this is Jorah Malley listening to everybody on the council and then making your decision and kind
of. What page is that?
This is the bottom of 299 and it goes on to 300.
Great.
For her, it was very simple. The Jedi were deeply connected to the light side of the Force. Whatever choice any Jedi made was therefore the will of the Force. Study and focus allowed the Jedi to become better instruments of that will, certainly, in much of the way a well-maintained lightsaber functioned better than the one that had fallen into disrepair. But getting caught up in the endless debate about what the Force might want was paralyzing, a waste of time. And I thought that whole thing was interesting because I'm like, that's exactly what happened to the prequel Jedi. They were like, do we have the resources to send? And these Jedi are like, I will come from any system that I can possibly get there in time, because that is what the light demands, is for me to care about the single life and the life of the masses, versus like, oh, does the Force want us to do this? It's like there has to be a balance of acting on the Force and listening to the Force, and I think that's a difference between these guys and then later on with the Jedi.
Perfect quote there. Again, going back to Dooku Jedi Lost, written by Kevin Scott. One of the most important things there is Dooku's friend. I'm blanking on his name. Dooku's friend, Sifo Dyas, has a vision that this system or this planet has a catastrophic event. He goes to
Yoda in that moment.
And what does he say? Master Yoda and the other councils are like, we can't act on a vision. We just can't. But then of course, Sifo Dyas, Dooku, and Sifo Dyas' master They go to the planet, and Star Wars Explained was talking about this today as well. They go to the planet, and of course the tragedy happens, but since they're there, they can help quell it a little bit. But even when they're there, Dooku mentioned how the Jedi are more focused on the potential dangers to the economy than the dangers to the human lives that were potentially lost in that.
Charles Soule calls it a philosophical vortex.
So yeah, philosophical vortex. So it's like, what made the Jedi so scared of vision? That goes back to Elzar Mann's vision. Maybe something there happened where they're like, maybe Elzar tries to talk to the Jedi, say like, maybe this is what I'm seeing, and then they try and stop it, but then that causes a lot of problems. So maybe now in the prequels they're like, we can't follow these visions at all.
And I think that has to be the case, because I think we have to lose Elzar at some point to create character development for Avar, because then you create this whole idea of Avar being this epitome of what the Jedi are, loses this person who just finally made it back up to like the Jedi standards, but then gets knocked back down probably when he talks about this vision stuff and whatever's gonna happen.
And she becomes part of the Lost 20 and she leaves the council.
Oh my god, dude! There's so much like
it has to be a tragedy, right? It has to end in something bad.
Like especially like Rising Storm has to end in tragedy. Like there's no way around it.
It's so fascinating because like we know the Jedi have to beat the Nile. There's no way Markian Ro is getting out of this.
Yeah,
actually, Markian Ro could be. I always say this: it's Star Wars. People are redeemable. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. It's just like, does that character want to have that redemption? So Markian Ro, who's talking to one of the best Jedi Loden, could have some kind of like epiphany. It's very interesting. At this point, I doubt it, but you never know. It's Star Wars. I would love it if he had a redemption arc. But either way, the Nile have to get defeated. The other monsters in the comic books, the Drengar or whatever, have to get defeated. But at the same time, the Jedi also have to have a tragedy of their own as well. They can't have all these victories. They have to end here at the end of this High Republic in some kind of dark way that leads to.
I also think, more broadly talking about the High Republic, I love the overall with the paths and everything tying into how the actual expanding of the universe of like, hey, we haven't established the Republic really in the Outer Rim. It's kind of still an idea. They haven't really seen the manifestation of, hey, here's help with the Republic. Here's what the Republic stands for, And so I think the Starlight Beacon is going to be destroyed at some point. I think it has to be.
We don't see it, right?
Yeah, we don't see it. We were talking about it today. I'm like, it's gone. So that's going to be a big turning point, especially
Actually, we do see it. I think, I don't know if it was confirmed, but this is the same station that Snoke was in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic book.
Oh, okay.
Kylo Ren goes to see Snoke, and Snoke is like in this observatory, like greenhouse.
Which
I think what we see in the end of this book here, where Elzar and Avar are walking like in this like greenhouse observatory with all the plants. I think that's where Snoke was in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic book. But that place looked very broken down, inhabited, like not inhabited. I mean,
I remember it was like issue 1 or something, I think.
Yeah, so like when Kylo goes to him, it's like, what is this place? Like where? So into Snoke, a dark side person occupying the Starlight Beacon. So like that would be crazy.
And I also think another broad thing, I was like, I don't know what Markion's like artifact or whatever is going to do, but I think we see someone who is either going to be corrupted, and we're going to have Force users on both sides. I think it's just inevitable.
Wow.
Maybe it's just one person. I don't think it's going to be like, oh, this secret guy was in high. It's not going to be like, Rise of Skywalker plot kind of armor thing where it shows up out of nowhere. But I'm kind of going with the idea that this thing somehow, tears down the will of the Jedi and is like, kind of like, oh, or maybe it takes all their knowledge and then kind of like leaves them to. Or maybe it just makes them fearful. Maybe it just preys on their fear or something like that. Like, that was the big word that I think this is going to be the downfall. It's like, at some point the question is going to turn from what do we do about the Nile to, how scared are we of the Nile based on where we are now? It's got to amp up. So I think
Charles said, like, what do the Jedi, or like, what scares the Jedi? That was the main thing in the High Republic.
Yeah.
Fear. And that's the last like point of the novel. It's like fear is
Yeah.
what Elzar Mann was feeling after
And
that.
maybe he sends Loden back, and Loden is just like a wreck, and like just spreads all these lies or not lies, but just like all this stuff. And then Elzar has this vision, and then it's like they're bickering within, and
A
then the
rising
Nile
storm.
strike when they're distracted, and it would be a
Yeah.
whole deal of like,
Because you do have great potential in the Nile with Lorna and Pan 8. I don't know. How do
yeah,
you pronounce his
Pan-
last name? Pan 8?
Pan
EYTE, right?
I think it would be eight.
Pan 8.
Penny, yeah.
But yeah, because they're still around. I always envision at the end of this novel, like Bell is super pissed. He did the Starlight dedication ceremony, but he can't really like get it out of his head. Like when they were saying the death, they mentioned Loden because they think he's dead.
Oh,
And
dude,
Bell's
I'm
like,
thinking about
no, Loden's not dead. And Bell's like super pissed. And I can imagine Bell versus Markian. Like, please give me that, please.
yeah.
Bell talking or having a conversation with Markian or having a fight Markian. Maybe Markian's using Loden's lightsaber or he's using that rod that he was having. Like maybe that.
And then I think about Buryaga too. I think about him trying to communicate during these conflicts and like, hey, I'm trying to tell you guys something, and maybe his master is tied up with something, and maybe he's not able to warn this time. He's not able to say, hey, there's passengers here. It's like I think there's a lot that's going to go wrong. That's going to lead to a lot of consequences going forward.
But I'm very curious what's going to be the deal with Markian. He says in this novel, the paths can't last forever. He can't keep using. Oh, actually, the paths can. It's just that
no new paths.
The lady, I forget her name right now, Mari Santeca, she's not going to survive very long. She has a time limit. He can't keep using her. He's going to use her as much as he can, but there's going to be a time when she runs out. What is going to be his goal after that point? How is he going to be posed? How is he going to be a threat after he has no more use? Or he can't use the paths. Like he can't use the unique paths. Because at this point, he says, like at the end of the novel, I could teleport, use the paths to be right above the chancellor's office if I wanted to. I'm like, yo, that's insane. Like, imagine like Sidious having this power. He could just like use hyperspace and use his ship to like be right in the center of Coruscant, right above the chancellor's office, and kill her. Like that's huge.
That's where I think like something that would manipulate people that can walk into that office, the Jedi, manipulating them and bringing that into the picture of like showing up as, with Loden or as Loden. Or it's like, there's so many possibilities of like corruption. And that's another great character. I love Chancellor So in this. I think she's a great addition.
She's the epitome of a great senator or great chancellor. We haven't really seen that.
Yeah. And it's like, I love the stuff with the Coruscant Mountain of like, kind of like, respecting this history and like moving forward and basically just trying to outpace all the little conflicts so people can believe in this big thing that will kind of allow things to smooth over because things are just good enough. And it's like the absence of that is going to just lead to more little problems and more fear of stability. And it's like, it's just so fascinating. I cannot wait for a Rising Storm. It's already in July. Oh my God.
There already is a quote from her. I don't know where it was. I think one of the last chapters with So, where she's saying like the Jedi are great, but maybe they're too powerful. Like there's a quote where she has like something along the lines of maybe the Jedi are too powerful, but then she's like let the thought slip aside for a moment, and she's like, okay, either way, she continued talking or whatever. I'm like, is she going to be the chancellor who eventually says like, hey, you Jedi need to be having a closer relationship to the Republic to the point where we get to where we are in the prequels, where they're super tied. They can't do much without senators having them like following the will of the Republic and the will of the senators. Because right now, Jedi are like, hey, there's a disaster. We're out of here. We don't care what really is going on here. Even with the Nile, they choose to not get involved. That wouldn't be the case in the prequels where the senators like say like, hey, Jedi, we need your help here. Then Jedi talk it over, and they most likely follow the will of the Republic.
Right. What if she it gets to a point where they have to force the Jedi, pun intended, to be the defense force because they don't have that established, and so the Jedi become forced to be warriors. They don't have the choice to go to the Hetzel system or wherever they. It's like that's it. It's been decided, and you can see conflict there. I'm trying to find this quote at the end.
Yeah, right there, page 354.
Here we go.
The top page 354. They had sacrificed and fought and triumphed as they nearly always seemed to do. She loved the Jedi, but sometimes she wondered if they were too useful.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just one line. I'm like, just too useful. They're too great. I'm like, what if something happened where she's like, they need to have
Right.
kind of Captain America Civil War. Like, they need restrictions, right? Because again, the gift of the Jedi, the ability for them in this era to be like, hey, there's a great disaster happening. We're all going to risk our lives to save this Hetzal system. We're going to do what we can to save the Hetzal system. But can following their will of the Force, can following visions lead them to certain risks, certain disasters?
And I think I brought this up today too, is like, what if it gets to a point where somehow, the Jedi get access to the paths or something, and they have to question, should we use the Nile's tactics against them because we cannot beat them as is? That philosophical thing of like, hey, Chancellor So, we need to use this path, otherwise we're done for, or we're not going to win this battle, or we're not going to save this group of people. We can't get there in time from the current hyperspace lane. We have to use this other one, otherwise, And Chancellor So is maybe like, no, it's too dangerous. What happens if, the traditional hyperspace lanes, it would just be free flying all over again? What would that mean for the Republic? And I could see them pushing back and forth, and the Jedi going against her word because maybe it's a super personal stake situation for someone attached to somebody. Maybe it's Elzar and Avar, and something like that, where they have to go against the Republic's will, and then we start to see rifts within the Jedi and the Republic.
Vice versa too, yeah. Remember, or maybe Chancellor So disagrees with something of the Jedi too. It's like, we see a little bit of that here, where they decide, like, should we really eliminate the Nile? What should we do? And Jorah Malai was like, we got to follow the will of the Force. What would make the galaxy more on the scale of the light side? And she says, defeating the Nile would help with that. So it'd be very interesting dynamic here. A lot of corruption possibly in the future, a lot of darkness in the future, the rising storm of it all.
Right. And even then, it's like, yes, the Nile are evil, but a lot of these people have been manipulated and thrown. Like, we get to the point where they're just expendable suicide bombers by the end, And it's like, it's crazy. Like, they're just throwing themselves at these ships and not even asking twice because they believe in this false kind of proxy of sharing the wealth, right? Like, and it.
Not sharing the wealth; they're sharing it amongst the top people, the Tempest Runners.
And I love that their home base is called No Space, because really they're just hollow. They don't have walls. They don't have any personality. It's really just hiding under the mask. It's this false sense of, hey, we belong here, but our belonging doesn't serve ourselves, and it's very fascinating.
That place sounded awesome. Yeah, love it. But I think we should hang it up there.
Yeah.
Having Nathan coming back. I'll write it in chat.
Yeah. I've been starting, speaking of other non-spoiler High Republic stuff, I've been starting a Test of Courage. I don't know how far you're into Test of Courage, but
I'm like 50 pages, 50 or 100 pages.
Surprisingly, I love the characters, man. I love these kids
Vanessa,
so far.
Vern, she's great.
It's a mature book so far, and as you get into it more, I'm about, I think, like halfway or 2/3 of the way through, and I feel bad for these kids, man. Like, they're going through a lot eventually in this book, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to just read more like.
Oh, and then in the end, no, I'm kidding.
I was hesitant just hearing Carson. I was like,
no, I was talking about a
Test of
different book.
Courage. Yeah, but I haven't even read that one yet fully. But yeah, a lot of great stuff for the High Republic, everybody.
I concur. All right. Oh my God, does that wrap our show?
Yeah, that wraps our show. We're good.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I got nothing to add. So yeah, dude, we have fun. I was asleep, but yeah.
You're supposed to say I was reading. I was reading while we were doing this spoiler.
I was reading Twitter. Anyway, Carson, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at the Film Carson. Hopefully, actually watching One Night in Miami this weekend. Like I said, it was last weekend, and watching some other things. We got some cool news stories on My Cup of Tea tomorrow. I'm excited to, talk about some Marvel stuff, some other stuff, and also there was about 17 things that moved release dates again tonight. So that's something we always talk about. So no time to die, as they say. But yeah.
Evan, where can they find you?
Find me on Twitter at HarrisEV9. Talking all those release date changes and everything. But yeah, I'm super excited for our podcast tomorrow. We're going to be discussing episode 3 of WandaVision, those release date changes, and some of the Marvel movie news that have come about since the beginning of the new year, since we didn't get a chance to dive into it as much last week. So a lot of Marvel tomorrow.
And as always, you can find me here on the channel, now officially reacting to WandaVision Weekly, which is always going to be fun. A continuous plug of February 5th for presentation animation things, so that will be quite the time. But yeah, with that being said, if you enjoyed our podcast and you would like to support, it's linked to the Patreon below. And with that being said, if you enjoyed, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if not already. Hope you have a great day, and may the force be with you.